It has been over 5 years since the release of Kingdom Hearts 3, dropping on January 25th, 2019 in Japan and on January 29th, 2019 everywhere else. And man, let me tell you, time is an illusion, because how on earth did that happen so fast? It truly doesn't feel like it's been that long since this game had first dropped. I remember when Kingdom Hearts 3 was something that almost felt like a myth, something that Kingdom Hearts fans imagined right after completing Kingdom Hearts 2 for the very first time. Clearing out that Kingdom Hearts 2 secret ending showed us what would later be Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. But the truth is, the real hype for Kingdom Hearts 3 began right here. While the game was actually only in development for 5 years, it was that anticipation and excitement from the secret ending that planted the seeds of the Kingdom Hearts 3 hype. This was back in 2005, and it wouldn't be until 2013 when the game was officially revealed. I remember sitting in a Skype call with my friends and seeing that trailer during the Sony E3 press conference. I was just 17 years old and was absolutely losing my mind. Trust me, I wish I had footage of this experience because I actually fell to the ground in my bedroom from excitement. But I'm not here to go on a full history lesson on the development of the game. It's something that we've all owned for several years now. At any point, I can just grab my copy of the game, throw it on my PlayStation, and experience it. But Kingdom Hearts 3 itself has changed so much since its initial release, and I have not been someone who has been hidden about his feelings towards the vanilla version of the game. Kingdom Hearts 3 is the best disappointment I've ever played. Kingdom Hearts 3 has left me feeling torn. No Oathkeeper or Oblivion. No Final Fantasy characters. This world has been stripped so much in this game. Now we have to fight Demon Tide again. No! I really didn't enjoy Kingdom Hearts 3 when I finished it for the first time. It left me with a lot of feelings of uncertainty and ultimately soured a lot about what I felt with the series. But there's a lot of layers to that I will go into eventually. Kingdom Hearts 3 has changed so much since then, and my opinion surrounding it too. A game that I once looked at with a lot of disappointment is now easily one of my favorite games in the series, even occasionally topping my all-time favorite Kingdom Hearts 2 in several aspects. And it took a lot of work to change my feelings like this. But ultimately, I think Square Enix nailed it when everything was said and done. There were 3 key moments after Kingdom Hearts 3 release that made the game what it is today. The vanilla version versus the final version almost feels like a completely different experience, and I wanted to go through it today and highlight how much the game has grown. I know a lot of people's perception of Kingdom Hearts 3 is rooted in the vanilla version of the game, and it's been 5 years, and I think those players should give the game another shot now. I can comfortably say that Kingdom Hearts 3 is the most important video game in my life, and it feels really good to be back here. But before I get into it, I want you to tell me a story surrounding Kingdom Hearts from your life that you want to share. Kingdom Hearts 3 is so rooted in my own personal coming-of-age story that it's impossible to tell it without mentioning the game. I've been able to make friends around the world and meet so many of you guys because of this game, and I'm forever grateful for that. So I want to know if you have any tales you want to share. A moment you might have had with someone special in your life surrounding these games. Because if I've learned anything about Kingdom Hearts, the power of community is the strongest one of all. And while you're down there, please be sure to do me a solid and hit that like button. We're going to be taking a deep dive into Kingdom Hearts 3 and how it became the monster it is today. Welcome to Kingdom Hearts 3, 5 years later.
So you're saying the weak feel the need to justify their actions to maintain a sense of self.
In Kingdom Hearts games, you're able to select your difficulty right at the very beginning, ranging from beginner, standard, and proud mode. Proud mode used to be the most difficult in the series, but when Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix dropped, it introduced a brand new critical mode. The damage that Sora received is double, your HP is essentially cut in half, and you do half the damage. This has objectively been the most difficult mode introduced in the series and has been on and off throughout future titles. When Kingdom Hearts 3 first released, it only included the first 3 difficulties. Even in the case of proud mode, many players for Kingdom Hearts 3 considered the game to be way too easy. From my own personal experience, I was able to get to the Keyblade graveyard without dying a single time. It was only until I faced off against the Xehanorts where I had a little bit of trouble. But overall, getting through the game was not a challenge at all. Sora has so much in his kit that he can take out several enemies at once without blinking an eye. Sora in Kingdom Hearts 3 is the strongest he's ever been with the amount of options he has. From the Keyblade transformations to the attraction flows basically being immortal attacks, but after a few combos, even the most challenging enemies would fold like paper, leaving a lot of players' initial playthrough of the game to be almost so easy that there was no conflict in the gameplay. Many were wondering where that critical mode patch was going to kick in, but fortunately, we didn't have to wait too long, with the patch being released as free DLC on April 23rd that year, 3 months after the game. And critical mode for Kingdom Hearts 3 did not disappoint. Your HP and MP were cut in half, situation commands took twice as long to build up, and Sora received way more damage. Although the biggest changes come in the form of Sora's new abilities. There was Critical Converter, which allowed you to completely disable the attraction flows. They no longer appeared on the map, immediately making the game harder by not having them. They also added Critical Counter, Critical Recharge, Aerial Recovery, and a ton of new abilities to Sora's kit. Oh, but they didn't stop there. The AI for enemies is a lot more aggressive this time around too, making the most basic Dusk enemy take my life at the very first visit of the game.
It can't be.
The Dusk got me. I'm so happy. I've never been so happy to die in a video game in my life. Because of critical mode, I now had to recontextualize how I was going to handle every combat situation. No longer could I just slam the Keyblade and hope for the best. Even the most basic enemy encounters, I had to be out there fighting for my life. I'm dead as hell. Oh my god. Come on, let me get that transformation. Let me get that ass beat-ation! And I love that. I love that they added this option into the game. I had so much more fun problem solving through certain boss fights and feeling that satisfaction of victory. There's something special about overcoming an enemy that has just been putting its hands on you. And Kingdom Hearts 3 finally added a hurdle worth climbing. And when you beat the game on critical mode, you unlock the proof of times past, which can then be exchanged for the Oblivion Keyblade later on. And with Oblivion offering one of the sickest form changes in the game, it was definitely worth the process. Although now, Kingdom Hearts 3 ran into another issue. With all of this new difficulty, we still had very few bosses to test this out on. We did have the Dark Inferno, which could be faced in the Keyblade Graveyard after beating the game, but there's a reason why he was dubbed the Kingdom Hearts community's punching bag. People would just fight him to flex out their new combos and Keyblades, but it wasn't to the level of other secret bosses we've seen in the past. But there's still something missing to really show us that extra bit of challenge, something to remind us what Kingdom Hearts is truly capable of. You know where I'm going with this.
If you truly possess great power, the darkness can't control you.
This is one of the greatest pieces of content to ever touch the Kingdom Hearts series. It feels so weird that this is part of the DLC exclusively. This is the first time we received downloadable content for Kingdom Hearts, but it functions similarly to the final mix type content we got in the past, where new content was introduced to recontextualize the story along with some new boss fights. Releasing on January 23rd, 2020 on PlayStation, almost a full year after the game was released. There were two versions of the DLC, the first one costing $29.99 while the second was for $39.99, but included a recording of the Kingdom Hearts Orchestra. This time it follows Sora during the events of the Keyblade Graveyard, as we see him using the power of waking to jump from hearts to hearts to save his friends from oblivion, and get one step closer to Kairi along the way. A big thing that Remind does that instantly remedies a lot of what Kingdom Hearts 3 did is because they aren't afraid to show us the content. There are a lot of story decisions in the vanilla version of the game that completely fall flat without the context being later added in Remind. I use the moment with Aqua in the Keyblade Graveyard as an example, where in the vanilla version, Aqua seems to just give up during an incredibly stressful situation, which is fairly out of character for her, especially for how dire things are. She just drops her Keyblade and accepts the darkness overtaking her. This led a lot of people to look at Aqua like, how could she fall so easily? It made her character seem weak without much of an explanation. It was more so left to the player's interpretation. Now, when we look at the scene in Remind, we're able to actually see the truth, as Aqua is petrified of the darkness, showing her forms of herself when she was trapped in that realm, which was obviously a very traumatizing moment for that character. But we get to see what's coming from Aqua's eyes. We get to see the fear overtake her in this moment with proper reasoning. And there's so many moments like this in Remind that just add the context I need for the story to be satisfying. I think about how they talk about the power of waking in the vanilla version of the game, where characters are constantly telling Sora about the risk of abusing this power. But all through the vanilla, these characters are just telling you. When we get to Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind, there's a scene with Sora and Kairi where they're in the final world, and we see Sora dealing with the power of waking as his entire being is starting to fade away. We can see that he's starting to pay that ultimate price, and Kairi is none the wiser, almost making this situation even sadder, as he's hiding the truth that he's hurting because he doesn't want to worry her. And personally, I feel like that's a lot more impactful than someone just telling me that this bad thing is gonna happen. Remind shows me, while Kingdom Hearts 3 tells me. Of course, the biggest indication of this is how they handled Kairi in Remind, where in vanilla, she just seems like another damsel in distress, but in Remind, they gave her multiple scenes of her throwing hands with some of the strongest villains in the game. And to top it all off, they made her fully playable and she functions so differently from everybody else. I love her combos and how she's able to teleport around the map by throwing her Keyblade. Her battle quotes are also very on character and overall just make Kairi actually feel like she's part of this wide ensemble. To lightning round the Remind episode real quick, because honestly, I could be here all day. I love how they had that moment with the Guardians all working together, and we got it in the sauciest way possible with these team combos and small interactions between these beloved characters. For it to end with them placing King Mickey in a 13 versus 1 battle, showing us that he is the king, an absolute unit. This moment is super boring from a gameplay perspective, no crazy combos or anything, but the amount of iconic moments to come from this alone, just seeing them all work together, this was my Avengers Assemble. I'm literally getting chills just thinking about it. They also made Riku and Aqua playable for a few battles with their own special moves. I do wish they were available for more than just their normal fight, but it is a nice little touch. They also made Scala and Kyla more of a world this time around, instead of the location just being 2 rooms and then the final battle. We were able to explore this beautiful landscape and see the architecture of the town. Scala is obviously a very important location for lore, so to be able to explore it was everything. But the cream of the crop has got to be the changes to the ending, where before we got to see the paths of all of our friends and how they're living their lives after the Keyblade War. For Remind, you see how Sora and Kairi are working together to fix everything. And in my opinion, it makes for a stronger ending than what we initially got. I was so bitter about this story for so long, I made an entire video where I basically rewrote the whole game. This was my therapeutic way of handling it at the time, and I made that before Remind even came out. I really do think the DLC improves on the story in such massive ways because it fills in those little blanks that just makes it so much juicier. And I'm only talking about the first episode of 3 that this DLC adds. After clearing out Remind, you have access to the Limit Cup episode, where this time you play as Riku on the hunt for Sora after the events of the game. And would you look at that, they brought back the Final Fantasy characters. One of the biggest critiques was their absence in the base game. And like, no one is looking at the Final Fantasy characters in these games as a means of pushing the story forward in a meaningful way. In fact, I think we all love their cameos and how they fit in the story in their own way. Having them around makes the Kingdom Hearts experience feel more complete, since these characters have been around since the very beginning. A colossal W to bring them back, and I hope they continue this trend. Please don't forget about Final Fantasy. Upon analyzing some data, the player will now need to face off against the new Data Organization 13. Being similar to the ones in Kingdom Hearts 2, these battles are amongst the most difficult in the series. And I mean that in the most honorable way because I loved getting absolutely bodied by these members. When Remind came out, I streamed the game basically all day for several days, and it was just me battling these bots. Every single battle had something unique about them that made me put on my big boy pants. Combining this with the critical mode difficulty, and you had hours of content ahead of you. The way they designed these bosses, it's incredible. It's one of the few situations where I couldn't believe how fun these fights were, especially looking at the other secret boss that the Osaka team made with the Dark Inferno. I always thought these boss battles would be good, but not this good. In fact, these are some of the best fights in the entire series. The amount of creativity you have with Sora and all of his toys, there's countless different ways of handling it. I remember when Remind came out, a lot of people complained that it was too difficult when compared to the base game, and they were absolutely right. I think the team took those easy comments personally and went to work. You couldn't even continue the story until you beat all 13 of them. Obviously, gaming was back. All leading up to the secret episode where we face off against Zora. Already this entire setup is super bugged out. You're meaning to tell me that the character in a random cutscene from the Toy Story world is going to be one of the toughest secret bosses to ever touch the sticks? I wouldn't believe you. But here we are in the realistic version of Shibuya fighting Dylan Sprouse on top of a skyscraper for our freedom. You remember the first time Zora took your Keyblade and beat you with it? Or the time he stole your Kupo coin from right outside of your pockets? Zora is a masterclass in trial and error since I thought this battle was going to be unwinnable from the beginning. I remember dying in seconds when I first booted it up, but then after a bit of dodging and probing, we were able to get our combos in, eventually winning us the battle, and what a satisfying win that was.
Okay. Oh my god.
Remind gave us those little bits of story that needed to propel us into the future of the series. And it showed us that the Osaka team has the power to create unbelievable boss fights. It's absolute peak performance and makes me excited for what they're gonna do next. And we're still waiting to see what happens next. This dropped back in 2020, and while we got new story stuff for Melody and Memory and Kingdom Hearts Dark Road, we're still waiting for a more traditional Kingdom Hearts experience. And to hold us off on that wait, Square Enix did something insane. Something that nobody was anticipating, but opened up Kingdom Hearts in a way that we've never seen before.
Tell me more.
On February 11, 2021, Epic Games has announced that the Kingdom Hearts series will be making its PC debut on March 30th, bringing over every game in the series to a brand new platform. I cannot emphasize how massive it is that Kingdom Hearts is on PC. There was a time back in the day where they didn't want to release these games digitally. The way Kingdom Hearts has been in terms of its copyright has always been super protective, so allowing for digital copies of their games was not something that was too common. And finally, bringing the games to PC allowed players to open up these games and go absolutely insane with them. While many players are hoping they eventually bring the Kingdom Hearts series to Steam, it currently sits exclusively on the Epic Games Store. All the games were available from the jump, but Kingdom Hearts 3 was instantly the most interesting for mods, as the amount of mods we've gotten from the community made the game feel like a giant toy box. We would get fun cosmetic changes like swapping out character models for other characters. I've seen Kermit the Frog, Thomas the Tank Engine, and even Yugimoto make an appearance. Then there's the massive map mods that completely place Sora in entirely new worlds, like importing Insomnia from Final Fantasy 15 and having it explorable with physics and all. And that's not even mentioning the massive Kingdom Hearts 3 Coliseum mod, where the base game didn't have a playable Coliseum. A mod like that makes it feel so realistic it almost feels like it's part of the real game, with different challenges and playable characters with its own interactable section in Olympus. This mod goes above and beyond in showing us what's possible. Do you know how excited people are to play Kingdom Hearts 4? So much so that they're making the game themselves in Kingdom Hearts 3, with full locations of Quadratum and model switches for Sora and such. Then there's the Kingdom Hearts 3 randomizer, where you run around the worlds in any order to hunt for hidden treasure, only being allowed to beat the game once you collect all 3, completely changing how you experience this game from start to finish. In fact, the Kingdom Hearts randomizer is almost endless in its content. Since players can re-roll any items they need, any playthrough won't be identical from the last. I also gotta mention mention the custom Keyblade mods for myself and my fellow Keykeepers. Dalin, I honestly cannot thank you enough still to this day. The feeling of having your own custom Keyblade with its own form, changes, and lighting effects, it's honestly one of the sickest feelings in the world. And none of this would have happened if the games never made their way to PC. Every time I check the mod page, there's always something new and incredible. Just recently, I faced off against a modded version of Sora where he was completely blowing my back out. Custom boss fights and everything. Like, the modding community has done so much for Kingdom Hearts. And this toy box nature has made the wait for the next game so much more bearable, since the community took it upon themselves to cook us the content that even the developers didn't do. But of course, my absolute favorite part of the PC ports, this version of the game has volume sliders. Being able to mute the music and play my own stuff on replays has been such a game changer. Like, I like hearing the battle quotes and sound effects, but it's nice to come back into the game with my own tracks. It makes replaying so much more viable and kind of relaxing, to be honest. To this day, I'm hoping the games eventually do make their way to Steam, because I know a lot of people who just refuse to get it on the Epic Game Store, which is totally valid, but I know when that Steam port eventually arrives, the floodgates are going to be completely destroyed with the new mod content, and I personally cannot wait. I want to say thank you to all the modders out there who are really holding it down for us. Truly the real MVPs in this space.
Sounds like your trip around the world opened your eyes, but you got a little bit more than you anticipated. You must have seen a lot of darkness.
Critical Mode, the Remind DLC, and the PC ports have added so much to the Kingdom Hearts 3 conversation that I feel like talking about the original and the completed versions are two completely different experiences. I want to emphasize again that Kingdom Hearts 3 is the most important video game of my life. I'm gonna get a little personal, but I feel like it's the only way for me to talk about this game. So for those of you who don't know, I did have an older channel named SkywardWing with the same name as this one. Some of you might not know that, but it's important. I started that channel and making Kingdom Hearts videos at a very developmental age. I was just 17 years old and started garnering an audience from making videos about my favorite series. I was just in high school, but from this I was able to meet so many new people, characters in my life that I would form lifelong bonds with. We shared in that Kingdom Hearts 3 hype and enjoyed the journey along the way. And I kept making videos all throughout college. Making videos on the series opened up so many doors to the point where I was invited to California to play the game early. And I worked on that channel for about 6 or 7 years. Most of my developmental years was dedicated to making videos for you guys. And it's all because of Kingdom Hearts 3. So when the game finally came out, after making videos about it for years and getting it in my hands and finally playing it, it was such a defeating feeling to not like the game. For many, Kingdom Hearts is just a series you play and maybe move on to the next one. But I was actively a part of that experience from start to finish. It was more than just a video game for me. It helped me develop my YouTube hobby and editing skills and so much more. Even right now, as I'm talking about this, you're watching this, and that's insane. Like, do you ever think about that? Especially since you made it this far in the video? It's a crazy feeling that I sit in all the time making this content stuff. So when I didn't like the game, I felt this sense of disconnect from it all. As someone who was actively a part of the hype for the game, to not like it threw me for a loop. And there was a lot going on during this time. I mean, do I have to get into the grittiness that was 2020? At this point, it almost felt like I was forced to make these videos, and I kind of grew a resentment towards it all. Being in combination of postgraduate depression combining with that COVID depression, your boy was not doing too hot during this era. So much so that I was in such a dark place, I decided to completely take down my channel, removing hundreds of videos in an instant without thinking about it. It was like me wanting to close a chapter of my life and leave it behind. Eventually after that, I did make videos and had a few username changes, if you remember that, but it was never the same. I never got that same level of enjoyment out of making content. I spent so many years of my life being SkywardWing that I had to ask myself, who was I? And those are the big questions you start to answer as part of growing up. I resented the channel and pushed away a big part of who I was, which is something that I regret to this day. Not because I wanted my old channel back, but a big reason for that is actually because of you guys. I didn't realize how many people were so nostalgic over my older videos that I would get constant comments of where they disappeared to, or people just asking me how these videos helped them through some tough times. And I'm so grateful to you guys for that. You have no idea. And I never considered that. I just focused on myself and what I needed to do. I do apologize for being short-sighted about it, but those dealing with mental health issues know how quickly a decision like that can be made. I have posted some older videos throughout the years and might post some older stuff in the future, but right now I'm more so focused on moving forward. And I think my attitude towards Kingdom Hearts has changed so much throughout the years. My attitude towards life has changed so much in the last 5 years. I've done a lot of growing up, but deep down in my hearts of hearts, I love this franchise. And I pushed that part of me away because it was so tied into everything I did. And I thought it was a bad thing for a while, but the best things I've gotten to experience in this life is because of Kingdom Hearts. The friendships I've made, the parts of the world I've seen, has been because I've shared my love for this franchise. I have a much healthier relationship with the content stuff. I like making you guys big videos about this franchise because being a Kingdom Hearts fan is not a choice. It's like a disease that runs through my DNA and I cannot get rid of it. It's for life. But honestly, I don't ever really want to, because I love Kingdom Hearts. The road to Kingdom Hearts 3 was about a young teenager just wanting to share his love for his favorite franchise, but the road to Kingdom Hearts 4 is a lot more chill. I feel like I'm strapping myself in for whatever happens next, which feels a lot different from the pressure of Kingdom Hearts 3 having to conclude the Xehanort saga. I'm a fan for life, and I think I needed to step away for a little while to really figure out what that means. Now we're in SkywardWing Era 2, and I'm so grateful for everyone who has joined us so far. I don't think a game will ever affect me in the way that Kingdom Hearts 3 has, and I'm so happy with how the game has shaped up once all the content has been released. It's kind of insane that it's already been 5 years since then. Like, this game didn't feel real for like half of my life. That's crazy. But it's been a journey of self-discovery unlike any other I've ever had. When thinking about Kingdom Hearts 4, I wonder if it's gonna follow the same path, where they release the game without critical mode or the extra bosses, but rather release them later as DLC. I mean, I get it. It makes it so the game can last longer in social conversations, but overall, I think releasing it this way damages that initial playthrough so much, knowing that the goods are gonna be coming out later. Regardless, that's a conversation for another day. I'm excited to see what happens next, and as long as they keep making games, we're gonna keep yapping about them. Thank you all so much for joining me on this journey. It has been such a big part of my life, and I'm so excited for what the future holds. Thank you all so much for watching.
Be sure to comment, like, subscribe,
And stay awesome.